And I start from center and then focus because poinsettia has a lots of leaves around. And the petals is look like the leaves and it's so busy. We need to make it simple for ourselves, and we start from center. Focus on all these tiny leaves or petals that it's actually petals, it's look like leaves. All these petals that's around the center, we focus on that one, draw them, and then one layer move on the back and make bigger, make drawing the other part, this one. And one by one, we try to finish it. So center is not accurate exactly because it's a bunch of yellowy, greeny, something like that. So I just separate it by this kind of line. It's not exactly circle. I try to make some busy line like that to have a place that this is the center of my flower. And then start with this big one. The shape is like this, comes out, gentle C curve here, go out, there, come inside, and then connect to center. And after that, one by one, we focus on each petal and try to finish it. The next one is this one. If you see, it's placed between this and this. So we already have this one and this petal. So it's something in between these two petals should be. So I started from here, connect this part, and then move out, curvy shape like that, and comes up. Try to follow the shape of drawing. And then the other side comes like that, and with a nice curve, reach this side of my first petal. Details, shadow and light, even the white of the paper, which is keep like that, everything we do by paint. After that, we focus on these two tiny one. Now this and this. So another petal is placed in between. So start from here, comes out a little bit, and then move down like that, and then reach the side of my petal. So we would like to work as a layers. Now I add a little bit more water on my brush here on a separate place. This is lighter and this is darker. Diluted whole the hair here and then start one by one. I start with this petal, adding a tone here, cover it. My brush is watery, so easily can move. But I would like to keep this place a little white, but not with the edges like that. I clean the brush, control the amount of water by napkin, and then try to touch the edges. It's not watery brush, it's a little bit controlled with the napkin, and just adding to get rid of the edges. Now I would like to keep this part white. I don't add any color on top. And I'm not let it dry. I would like to bring a little darker here around the center. So this one is darker a little bit because it has a really less water. Or even I can use the pure paint that I have with less water. You see when I add this tone, it's spread a little bit and these two colors are the same, but this has more watery, this has less water and more pigment. And it's helpful to be a little darker. So I clean my brush, reduce the amount of water on that, and then try to move this dark color a little up with tip of brush to shape it, and a little details bring it on top of petals. Then let it completely dry. So I'm happy with this, but I'm not going to add the paint exactly the petals beside that because it's wet. They can move in together the paint. I leave it get dry, move on the other petals, which is a little space in between. So this one. I start with the wet one, which is lighter, more water, less pigment inside. For this one, I can cover whole the petals. I don't want to keep any part white. I add whole petals, very light color. It's already watery, it's not dry. It takes a little bit time to get dry. Now I focus on the darker tone or this one and add a little tone on the center and even inside. Control it. Even inside, it's a little darker, but it happens sometimes. Still, the paper is wet. It doesn't give you a chance to move toward the other side. Let it a little dry. Then with dry brush, add some color around this part and make it dark. So this petal is bending toward the other one because this is light and inside it's dark. Tone on top, even if it's a little dark, would be okay. It's tiny bit. I just add a tone here. Even you can lift up some paint if you like. This is another technique. Actually, watercolor has a lots of technique. Clean your brush, control with napkin a little bit, reduce the amount of water of brush, and then when it's wet, you can start from this part, move your brush on the pedals, so you already lift up some paint. It's so interesting technique. Clean the brush, reduce the amount of water inside the brush, and then here it's wet, it's not dry. From this side, just lay down your brush, move it on top, and lift up some paint, and then clean it by napkin. And it's better to do this technique just one time, not more than that, and then leave it. and bring it towards center. Now I don't want to let it dry. It's a good time to bring another layers, which is this one with less water, a little bit darker. So I start very gently, add a tone here. And when it's wet, very gently they blend together and fade into each other. So I would like to have a little dark color here. Move on with another brush. No water, just a pigment. It's wet, so still can move on the other color very gently. I move on with a smaller brush. So accurate, try to add around the other petals a little bit darker tone. It's more easy right now because it's already wet. So very nice to see the colors spread everywhere. So we can add a tone, darker tone, and make this part of the petal a little bit with this value. And you can use the tip of brush for now. Now it was a good because it's a little wet, so it gives me a chance to work more on it. If it's get dry, it's not good to add any color on top. You need to let it completely dry. After that, very gently make it wet and again work on top. So I separate this light color and I add a dark color here, and it shows that this is on top and this is on the bottom part. Loose color and light. These two are dry. I start adding a tone very gently here with hold the brush. Even if you want to keep some part light, you can do that. Keep the paper white or even lift up the paint. For example, I would like to lift up some paint from here. Even I can use the napkin for edges and let it a little bit be lighter. And I don't let it dry here right away. Take my pure red, a little wet, just a tiny bit wet. Try to add on top. Because of the paper, it's 25% cotton and it's dry so fast. If it was 100%, it gives me more chance to be wet. So it's interesting because you can see different happen that we have in painting. So it's dry so fast. It's not the same as this one. You see, the first layer was dry. The second layer I have, the edges create. So it's not the one that we want. Clean the brush very well. There is no paint should be in your brush. Clean it. Again, just a tiny bit water we need. From outside, come inside. And try to lift up and get rid of the edges. Again, clean it by water and brush. From outside, come inside and try to get rid of these edges that create. Like that. And now everything is get better. But when it's wet, you can do that. When it's get dry, you cannot get rid of it. And now here is still wet. Move on toward darker tone. to make a little darkness here and shadow part. And then leave it get dry. This petal, it's a little bit, oh no, it's dry now. Let me finish that one and then give you time to finish these petals of flower, and then we can move on around for the green part. For this one, it's tiny and I don't let it work a lot with the light tone and the mid tone. I just move on toward the mid tone, and then it's already dark. A little bit darker tone, you can bring it here. Because shadow, let it go a little, one layer down, and let the one that it's lighter comes up. So I add a shadow on here. And that's helpful. These petals come up. Have white color inside as well. So add randomly some brush stroke with yellow somewhere. You don't need to be really accurate. Keep white off the paper and randomly add a little yellow somewhere. And then clean your brush with no water. Take your green, control it with the napkin to reduce the amount of water, and then randomly add some line in between with the tip of your brush. I know that it mixed with yellow, it's fine. It gives us a nice and gentle blending together. And please keep the paper white as well and leave it like that. Even if you like to have darker value, you can switch more ultramarine blue to add. So we need to see yellow, white, and green on top. So let it dry. Add ultramarine blue, because ultramarine is a little darker than cobalt. If you don't have it, doesn't matter, you can add cobalt. And if you see this dark color, it's a little bit cool. I need warmer tones, so I add dark brown into this color. Now I'm happy with it. It's dark and warm. Try to add enough water into that to have a liquidy color. So diluted, hold the brush very gently. Try to start from inside, from out of your petals. Even if you keep the white between your petals and the background would be really lovely. But very gently bring the colors and not touch the petals. Then when you come out, even you can add enough water in your brush from outside, come inside and let it blend and fade to the paper. Even you can bring the clean water from out, come inside and let it blend toward the background. If you're happy with this color, let it dry. If you want to bring the blue inside, it's better to do it right away and don't let it dry because it's background. It's better to be loose and light, because if you work more on the background, the focal point, which is flower, it's disappear. The background should be light. Flower should be dark. Now for the other part, because I would like to have a balance in my painting. And if you see, I have blue here on top and I have blue here. So if I have this part a little more blue, it's more interesting. And I have dark color here as a leaves, and I would like to have dark leaves here too. So the eye, it's need to see something balanced in the painting, which is interesting. And I start to adding light blue color here. Try not to come close to the petals and keep some white as a paper. And then adding a bluey tone around it. Even if you don't like just the blue and the green, you can add just one brush stroke with the green inside the blue to have both at the same time. Now for the top part, I'm adding this lighter green first. When I'm close to flower, be accurate, not touch the petals. Keep some part white. And then with pure white color from out of paper, come inside and try to make it loose and light. Even it's okay to add one stroke with the blue, then move on with darker color and shape the leaves. Even we can do by smaller brush if it's more easy. Sometimes it's more easy to control the dark color with the small and pointy brush, especially when we are close to the flower. So this is dark, very gently try to add a tone here.